Hello, gorgeous humans, and welcome back to another episode of Metamorphosis. Today, I want to go a little bit deeper into just something that I brought up on the first episode, which is this concept, and it's so integral to the concept of metamorphosis, but the concept of a cocoon and creating your own cocoon. I'm creating my own cocoon. So what do I even mean by that? Like, what even is a cocoon? And like physiologically for a butterfly, it's the thing that the caterpillar creates around itself in order to be able to completely dissolve into like a goo and then rebuild itself again and then to leave the cocoon. But it stays in one cocoon, its own cocoon, for a very specific amount of time. And then it leaves it, and that is the metamorphosis, you know, like a metamorphosis literally just means transformation, a complete transformation. So this is so present in my own life, actually, and I loved all of the synchronicities around this because when I started thinking about changing the name to Metamorphosis, the name of the podcast and the name of my coaching, I was staying in a different place in Oroville before we found this apartment, and it was just full of butterflies, and all of the plants in the pathway towards the house were all exactly the type of plants that the caterpillars eat. So the butterflies lay their eggs on this plant, and then the caterpillars eat all of the leaves of that plant, and then they make their little cocoons there. So it's like this perfect ecosystem. And it just felt so synchronous, you know? So that was a beautiful moment. And it just got me thinking, like, this 2 years of my life, like this 2 years of this Kalari diploma, this 2 years of being committed to living in India, here, doing the diploma, going to training as much as there is, like this 5 hours a day training, and just organizing my whole life around this, is a cocoon. You know what I mean? Like, it's just something that I've built, and it's extremely contained. It's something that I've chosen, I guess, more than built. It's extremely contained. And it's staying in one place, like the cocoon hangs in one place. And it is a process of just completely dissolving myself and rebuilding myself into somebody new. And there's absolutely no way that I can know what's on the other side of this journey. Do you know what I mean? Like, the version of me that has the amount of discipline to train for 2 years nonstop, with no days off, with no like, no, I don't feel like it, with none of that. You know what I mean? Like, the version of me that can stay even when she wants to leave, even when things get hard, even when it's not comfortable, even when I want to go and stay on a tropical beach. Like, of course, a big part of me is yearning to do that. Do you know what I mean? A friend asked me the other day in a cafe, like, yeah, well, like, what tropical beach would you just go to? And I said, don't even ask me that. Like, I can't even let myself think about that kind of thing, you know? So this is the concept for me of a cocoon. And it's really a groundbreaking thing for me. Like, this is really a level up in my own self, because previously to this, and as I said in the first episode, like, we are in just this complete state, all of us, all of humanity, where we're just absolutely drowning in information. Our phones are all full of like screenshots of this advice and that recipe and this workout and that thing, like saved into folders and folders and folders. My phone, I think, has something like 40,000 screenshots of all of these things, which is ridiculous. And we're reading this book, that book, this book, that book. Like, I'm talking, this is me, you know, this is exactly what I do. Listening to this podcast, that podcast. I see it in all of the people around me, like just looking for answers, looking for all the answers, like trying to understand their bodies, trying to understand their minds. Like, maybe if I read this book, maybe if I go to this Ayurvedic doctor, maybe if I see this therapist, you know, I saw that one, I didn't really like them, so I'm going to see this other one. Maybe I just need to like do this course with this person. Maybe I just need to, you know, and it's relentless. There's always something waiting to take its place. And it's to the extent, for me anyway, where I read something and like, it's fascinating. You know, I screenshot it and I think about it. And then like 2 seconds later, I've forgotten about it because I'm scrolling. And the next thing is just equally interesting, but it's about something different. It's about, it's the year of the fire horse. Oh, for Pisces, this, that. Oh, you're a generator in human design. Do you know what? It's like, actually, you should be taking creatine. But you should also be taking magnesium, and you should eat eggs, and no, you shouldn't eat eggs, and like all of these different things. And it's just like, we're consuming, and we don't actually ever get a chance to integrate any of those things or actually put them into practice in our life so that we can see if they actually work for us or not, because there's absolutely not one size fits all for anybody, you know? What works for me won't work for you necessarily. What works for someone else won't necessarily work for the person next to them. We're not all homogeneous beings. We're not supposed to be homogeneous beings. We're supposed to be able to have guidelines, have a cocoon, have a structure that allows us to get to know ourselves so well that we get to test these things. We get to experiment. We get to stay long enough with one or two things and really, really go so deeply into those things that we know because we know. Not because somebody has told us, not because we've read it, not because any of those things, but because it's a deep, intuitive, instinctive knowing. It's a wisdom that comes from deep inside of us. And actually, most of us are completely out of touch with this feeling. Do you know what I mean? We've lost all sense of trust in ourselves. We've lost our sense of our baseline. We don't even know how we feel at a baseline because we're so stimulated by everything around us. We're stimulated by coffee. We're having alcohol. We're always in big crowds. We're always completely in a rush, rushing from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. We're in very stressful environments where we're picking up on other people's stress. We're eating things that just we were never meant to eat. We were never designed to digest those kind of things. So we don't actually know what our baseline is anymore. We don't know what it feels like to feel good in our bodies. We don't know what our normal energy level is. We don't know what our normal mood is at a baseline because everything is constantly fluctuating and on this roller coaster, and we never seem to be able to catch our breath. And because of this, we're desperate for the next answers, please, 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 just please somebody help me feel better, please. Because ultimately that's underneath all of it, you know what I mean? We just want to feel good. We want to have energy to do the things that we love. We want to be able to have time and energy for our passions, not just be working ourselves to death. We want to have energy to be kind to people, to the people that we love, to our families, to our partners. We want to just enjoy our own company. Do you know what I mean? It's not like we're looking for this crazy thing that's inconceivably we're wanting to wake up and have $8 million in our bank account tomorrow. Well, that would also be nice. It's just simple what we want. And so we're just desperately looking for the answer. And we're somebody must know. Somebody must know. Please, somebody just tell me. Somebody just tell me what to eat. Somebody just tell me what supplements to take. Somebody just tell me which course to do. Somebody tell me what book to read. Somebody tell me, explain all my astrology to me. Explain all my Ayurveda to me. Explain all of these things. Somebody just give it to me in a very neatly packaged thing where I don't actually have to work that hard. I don't have time to work that hard. I don't have energy to work that hard for this thing. And I feel you so much because I've been here so many different points in my life. I can speak all of these things because I've lived them over and over and over and over again, over and over again. But the thing that changed for me was that in the last few years, I actually got really good at knowing my own baseline. I got good at connecting to myself again. And it was through very specific practices. It was through starting to meditate very consistently. And it was also through just having very, very, very consistent movement practices. And I have said this before so many times on this podcast, and I'll say it again a lot of times, but you really need a way of connecting into your mind and your being and a way of connecting into your body. And of course, those two things are linked and they're always reverse engineerable. So, and if you've got both of them, you've got both. You know what I mean? You have so much more creative power, creative potential over the version of you that you're becoming when you can influence both of those things, when you know both of those things, when you understand both of those things. So things really started to change in my life where I put a lot of effort and a lot of energy into just understanding what my baseline was and really, as much as possible, removing all of the things that were altering too much my own self. In terms of what I was eating, in terms of people I was spending time with, and how much people would drain me in terms of the type of work I would do. I very intentionally left Melbourne on purpose. I knew I didn't want to live in a big city, so I worked really, really hard all through COVID to be able to save up enough money to be able to go away and just have a big reset and figure out all of these things. Put myself in isolation. I had to end a relationship to do that. I had to leave all of my friends and family in Melbourne and the life that I had set up there while I was back there. And I've done this multiple times throughout my life. I changed everything. And so this right now is a level above that even. It's a level of an even more contained cocoon. It's with the most intentionality I've ever done this in my life. And I think the most potent thing about this is, and it does come down to this, like it's not looking for 1,000 different answers in 1,000 different places and doing one different thing every day, because then of course we have like a lot of very broad knowledge about a lot of different things. In the first podcast episode, I gave the analogy of doing a different sport every single day for a year, as opposed to doing one sport every day for the whole year. And just it's unfathomable the two completely different places that you would end up in doing either of those pathways. Do you know what I mean? And then I was thinking to myself after that episode, it's like, yeah, but like, because I said, you just need to pick one or two things and actually really, really, really stick with them. So it is true that we can find answers from the things that we want. We won't find answers from jumping to one thing to the next over and over again. You can't pick a diet and then do a different diet every day for a year and think you're going to end up somewhere good from that. Do you know what I mean? Our bodies need consistency. You couldn't move house every week and think that you're going to be in a nice place. It's nice when you're traveling, but you don't want to live your whole life like that. You can't do different things all of the time. You can't read a different type of book all of the time and then get any kind of depth. Because depth requires you to stay. It requires you not only to consume the thing, but to digest it and to let it become part of your being. Like we eat food and it becomes part of us. It doesn't just go straight out the other side. It goes through its own cocoon process. It's dissolved inside of our body and it becomes our cells. It becomes different cellular processes in our body. It becomes different parts of us. And then, of course, those cells live their own life cycle as well. And things are excreted and things like go through a cycle of living and dying. But all of this just to say, what I meant when I said that, and I thought about it more deeply afterwards, is that picking one or two or three practices and sticking to them every single day for a very specific container of time will give you something that you cannot get in any other way. And what it gives you is the ability to know yourself. And I think I said this in the other episode, and then afterwards I'm always like thinking about these things and just thinking like, what does that actually mean though? What does it mean to be able to learn yourself from these things? What does it mean to like have a container to meet yourself? So I can speak to my own journey, you know what I mean? Because for me, I've chosen very specific things. I meditate. I have very specific type of meditations that I do in the morning and the evening. And that really allows me to create a sense of stillness that I don't really have. I try to bring it into more of my day, but I'm still not that good at that yet. A sense of stillness, enough stillness to be able to feel inside my body, to feel my own energy level, to be able to feel this like kind of vibrational frequency of life and feel how it's flowing through my body. And of course, the Kalari practice amplifies this a lot because it's moving a lot of energy, moving a lot of Shakti in the body. And of course, the other practice is Kalari for me, and a lot of it, you know what I mean? So what those two things do, it's not necessarily that the practice itself is magical, although they both are. They're both time-tested wisdom. They've both been around for many, many, many thousands of years, which is a really nice way to pick if something's going to be, I think, very, very, very transformational for you. If something's lasted for that many years, through that many different types of cultures and continents and through different wars and revolutions and things like that, it has an essence that is just incontrovertible. Do you know what I mean? So that's not to say that other newer hobbies are not also valid, but ancient things have profundity that you don't get anywhere else. And that was the thing that drew me to Kalari in the first place when I first tried it. And the Kalari itself is very transformative. It is designed in this way, just like yoga. It's designed to be very moving the body in very specific ways, to be channeling energy in a specific way, to be moving your breath in a very specific way. But more than that, I would say, is the fact that it just allows me to meet and confront myself every single day, because the Kalari is unchanging. So it's just like coming up against a brick wall and just seeing where you are. It's like coming up against a mirror, actually, is a better analogy, every single day, and just seeing what's reflected into you. Every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, I walk into the pit to train. And the pit is exactly the same. The teacher is exactly the same. The people in the class are more or less the same. The practice itself is more or less the same. We know what it is. It's all the same. So what I get to see is I get to measure myself against the pit. I get to measure my own internal state. I get to measure my own physical state against the pit. And that's just the most extraordinary thing, I think, because it's so just uncluttered. And when we go to different things every time, when we try a different thing every day, different types of exercises, different types of foods, different type of all of these things, we get very confused about like what is ours and what is the thing and what is causing the transformation. Like, what is this thing happening? And what of it is mine? What of it is intrinsic to the thing itself? And what is the dynamic between those two things? But when you pick one thing and you stay with it for a very, very long time, the thing itself doesn't really change that much. So you get to really measure how much you change. You get to really notice how different you are. You get to really see. And ultimately, the battle is with yourself. You know what I mean? This morning, like yesterday I had acupuncture, which is extremely supportive, extremely beautiful. I don't know if it was from the acupuncture or something else. But in the middle of the night, I got this spasm in my neck, which is the same spasm as like when you're driving and you do a head check and your thing just spasms. So it was very painful. It's still painful. I got into the pit this morning and just the steps are very big. There's 3 very big steps into the pit. The pit is 6 feet in the ground. And then, so even the process of going down into the pit is hard already, you know what I mean? And it was just like a thing of, wow. And then I get to talk to myself. I get to understand myself. I get to say like, okay, to my body, like, yeah, I feel you. Like, you're sore. You are stiff. You're sore. I understand. But we're here. We're going to do the practice anyway. That's the commitment. So how can I support you? How can I support my body? How can we work together in this today? And it's just confronting as well your own mental barriers every day, your own mental demons. Sometimes just you're in a mood, you know what I mean? And it's like things annoy you in the pit. Someone gets in your space, someone kicks you by accident, and like, some days you brush it off. Some days it's really annoying. Some days you just annoyed at yourself because you can't do something that you could do previously. And so it's just the most extraordinary mirror to come up against over and over and over and over again. Because a lot of things in our life are changing. The people in our life that are constant in our life are also changing. You know what I mean? Like, people are on their own journeys. People are in a different mood, in different times of the day, in different days, in different seasons. Our environment is changing. The seasons are changing. All of these things are changing. Like, life in the world is changing at a pace that is completely unfathomable. I can't keep up with it whatsoever. So it's so important to have these things in our life that are just unchanging, so that we can build a relationship with ourselves that is unchanging, because ultimately that's the foundation of everything. Because when we have that, nothing in life can shake us that much, because we know our own self, and we have, over a long time, over a lot of effort, over returning over and over again, over being in the cocoon and dissolving and rebuilding, we've built this sense of gravity within ourselves that means that we know. And we can go out into life and see. And then we get very, very, very good at judging what is actually good for us and what's not. What kind of people very quickly deplete our energy, and what people don't, what people give us energy. What kind of people are very extraordinarily collaborative to be around and really uplifting, and what people are just, energy vampires, essentially. What foods do you eat that immediately deplete you? Like, when you're very sensitive, you realize within seconds after eating something that actually this is not agreeing with my system. This is not going to give me more life force. You know when you move, you know when the sunlight touches your skin, you know when you see somebody in the street that has this same essence, because you recognize it in them, because you recognize it in yourself. You can go to different places in the world. You can let life be quite uncertain because you've got a certainty within yourself. And the only way to build this is within a cocoon of staying with these practices and with yourself for long enough to get to know yourself, to get to trust yourself, and to get to know your baseline, and to get to know it so well that you understand any fluctuations up or down from it. And when you understand those things, you can understand how to navigate them. If something fluctuates you way up and it's too far up, you know how to regulate yourself again. If someone is bringing you down, or something is bringing you down, or a job is like completely stealing your energy, or a place, like you're living in an environment that's not suitable for you, you can know, you can tell. And you feel strong enough in yourself to be able to set boundaries and change that thing, because none of us deserve to feel like depleted all of the time. So ultimately what I'm saying here is we really need, and this will be the currency of the future, our ability to stay with ourselves, to stay in a cocoon, to not get distracted by 1,000 different shiny objects. And honestly, like most of the work that I do with my clients is really just keeping people on track. And like, of course, creating containers where people can bring a lot of ideas and a lot of energy and a lot of momentum and try a lot of different things, but also just constantly bringing people back to the fact of like, yes, but we have to do the same thing over and over again. You have to be able to know yourself. You have to be able to trust yourself. You need to be able to stay with this thing. You need to be able to create this level of trust and devotion with yourself. We all need to be constantly reminded of this. We all need to be constantly reminded of this, because we're such in the habit of just, we get bored, we're scrolling on social media and we see something new, we want to try something new, we meet new people and we get influenced into a new thing. And of course there is room for all of those things. I'm all for all of it. I'm all for following those breadcrumbs of life and they come into our life. But underneath that, we need to be able to stay with the things that connect us to ourselves. And I had moments last year where I lost these things. I really had moments where there was a lot of things going on in my life, and I lost my Kalari practice for a few months. I wasn't meditating as regularly. I was not like showing up to the same practices with the same level of devotion every day. And I did lose myself. Like I found myself being very, very easily influenced by the people around me. I found myself being very easily influenced by situations around me, making decisions that I probably wouldn't have made otherwise had I had this level of gravity within myself, this level of connectedness, this level of devotion to myself and to my practices. So the practices themselves are really just a vehicle to connect back into yourself. They are a vehicle to be able to have a specific time and a specific way to come to yourself, to sit with yourself, to be able to converse with yourself, to be able to know yourself, to be able to feel what you feel like with no distractions, not following any impulses to move, not wanting to get up and do this thing, that thing, the other thing, not being in the middle of the class and like just going to have a drink of water because you feel thirsty, like the ability to stay focused with yourself. And it's so difficult. We are really trained out of this so much. Our attention spans are getting so short. Our ability to sit with discomfort is so small. So this whole journey of mine is really just also an invitation to you to pick one or two things and like let one of them be some form of meditation and let one of them be some sort of physical practice. And it doesn't necessarily have to be ancient. Do you know what I mean? Because for me, the catalyst for this journey for me was running. And I learned some extraordinary lessons in my life and built an extraordinary foundation of knowledge in myself through running and through just committing to showing up for a run, like on the schedule, no matter what I felt like, no matter what my mind was saying, no matter what the weather was, no matter any of these things, but the ability to just show up for yourself and be there and do the thing. So that is the cocoon. It is this containment. It is this ability to just rein ourselves back in and just think like, no, you're not going to go and chase that thing and this thing and that thing and this thing and do this thing and that thing and that thing and that thing. What you actually need is to be held in this space, in this container for a period of time, I would say a minimum of 6 months, minimum, for any kind of real meaningful depth. And even hearing that, I'm sure, is uncomfortable to you, because it was uncomfortable to me. And the whole thing of committing to this diploma was just the process of deciding to do it was excruciating, because the 2-year commitment felt like too much. And I spent so much time with myself just thinking like, yeah, but this, yeah, but that, yeah, but this, yeah, but that, like, yeah, but, you know, it's not a tropical beach. Like at some moment, you're not going to want to live there anymore. It's not it's not your ideal place to live. It's not like you don't have all your friends there. You don't have all of these things that you want. What about all of these other travel plans that you wanted to do, right? If you commit to this thing and you don't want to just do it in a half-assed way, like what about all those other ideas that you wanted to do? You wanted to go to Brazil, you wanted to go to this festival over here, you wanted to go and do that thing here, you wanted to go diving in the Raja Ampat, and you want to sometimes go home and see your family in Melbourne, and you also want to go and visit that friend who's traveling over there, and all of these things. And so it happens on the microcosm and it happens on the macrocosm, because in every meditation where I'm sitting and trying to be as still as possible, and I feel this urge to itch my eye, or move my leg, or twitch, or scratch something, or change the chant that I'm listening to, or get up and make a coffee, or any of these things. Every time I feel that urge and I let it pass and I stay, I get a little bit stronger, and it always overflows into the rest of my life. It overflows into my Kalari practice with the amount of focus that I have. It overflows into other different parts of my life where I can stay. So it happens on this micro level in something like a meditation, and it also happens on a macro level where now I can make a commitment to a 2-year diploma. And it is uncomfortable for the friend to ask me that. Do you know what I mean? And because I was talking about we were just talking about different travel plans that she could do, and I thought, imagine just going and living on Gili Air for a month, and just just being on the beach. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, no, don't think about that. There's no point in thinking about that. You know what I mean? You're here, this is your cocoon, and you're staying in your cocoon. You're not going to go to Gili Air for a month, because it would disrupt everything that you've built. It would disrupt all of these beautiful, beautiful lessons. And I don't want to go out into the world as a half-dissolved caterpillar. You know what I mean? I want to stick with this metamorphosis. And the ability to stick to something and see it through to the end and fully do it wholeheartedly creates something inside of your being that you can't get in any other way. It creates a depth of character and an amount of strength in you that you can't get it from reading a book. You can't get it from doing a very short course or a weekend retreat or any of these things. These things can be beautiful catalysts. They can give us a lot of extra things. I'm not saying that there's no value in them, but I am saying that to build this foundation within yourself, it has to be contained. You have to be able to go so deep. You have to be able to go so deep that you can fully dissolve and trust that the container will hold you. I know that the Kalari pit is there tomorrow, and the next day, 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 and I'm going to be going there. And so it creates a framework that lets me fall apart in some other areas of my life. It lets me confront a lot of things that are coming up for me. It lets me confront aspects of my personality and little voices in my head that would say but you've got to strain, oh this, oh that, But the Kalari pit itself it's a very, very, very firm, beautiful cocoon for me. So this is an invitation to you. What would your cocoon be? What would you want to devote yourself to for the next 6 months, the next year, the next 2 years, and just go incredibly deeply into, and let yourself be transformed? Because it's a completely different transformation if you're dissolving half over there, half over here, half over there, half over here, half over there. What kind of butterfly do you think you're going to grow if you've just left half of your caterpillar in 1,000 different places all over the world because your attention is that scattered? And we can be pulled in 1,000 different directions by 1,000 different people, and we let 1,000 different things influence our mood and our energy levels every day. If you want to build an extraordinary butterfly, you need to dissolve in one place, rebuild in one place, and know that that's where you are, that's who you are. Know what you're building. Know that it's safe to dissolve because you're holding your own self. You've got your own cocoon. It is you. It's your blueprint. It's your unique, completely unique blueprint. And then you get to be the butterfly on the other end of that, not just 1,000 different piles of dissolved goo. Do you know what I mean? So this is the magic of metamorphosis. It is extraordinary. It is extraordinary. This has only been a couple of months for me. I got back to Oroville in the start of December. And already it's changing me completely as a person. So what is your cocoon? What is going to be your metamorphosis? And if you want extra support with this is my speciality. You know what I mean? I help you find your zone of genius. I help you know what to do. I help you to stay and not be distracted by 1,000 million different things, to find your own unique gifts, because you have them. You do, and you almost certainly don't recognize them because they're so normal for you, so you're not utilizing them. You need to know what they are so that you can go extremely, extremely deeply into them and put them out in the world, because the world needs your magic. The world needs you as a butterfly, the most extraordinarily beautiful, elaborate, voluptuous, glamorous, iridescent butterfly. So if you need help with it, you know where to reach me. But go and think about what your cocoon will be. Think about what your metamorphosis will be, because it's waiting for you. Love you guys.